Barry Sanders, 1988. Sanders' season at Oklahoma State wasn't just great, it was outrageous. He racked up 2,628 rushing yards and 37 touchdowns in the regular season alone. That's not even counting the 222 receiving yards or his return yards, or the 222 yards and 5 touchdowns he casually added in the Holiday Bowl after the Heisman voting was over. What makes Sanders' run so ridiculous is the consistency of his destruction. He averaged over 238 rushing yards per game. That's basically 2 full football fields every Saturday. And we're not talking about garbage time padding. Barry put up 300-plus yards in 4 different games and cracked 200 yards 9 times. He wasn't just running past guys. He was breaking ankles, bouncing off tackles, and leaving defenses spinning. Even crazier, he did all this in his first season as the starter, taking over for Thurman Thomas, another future NFL star. Sanders was so unstoppable that defenders would anticipate his cuts and still miss. Sanders won the Heisman in a walk, setting 34 NCAA records that year. His season is often called the greatest individual season in college football history, not just because of the numbers, but because of the pure dominance. He didn't play for a national title contender, but that didn't matter. Every fan and every sports writer knew they were watching history. Barry Sanders, 1988. Not just a season, but a performance for the ages. Herschel Walker, 1981. As a true freshman in 1980, Walker ran wild and led Georgia to a national title. But in 1981, he reached full beast mode. That year, Walker rushed for 1,891 yards and 18 touchdowns. And remember, this was the SEC, where defenses were stacked and tough. Walker was a physical freak, 6 foot 1 inch, 225 pounds. Built like a freight train, and somehow faster than the defensive backs chasing him. What made Herschel's 1981 season legendary wasn't just the raw stats though, it was the impact. He was the heart and soul of Georgia football, carrying the offense on his back every week. The Bulldogs went 10-2 with Walker consistently grinding out tough yards, keeping the chains moving and wearing down defenses. Even though he didn't win the Heisman that year, that came in 1982. Many experts argue his 1981 campaign was the most impressive, given the expectations, the physical toll, and the SEC gauntlet he ran through. Every coach game planned for him. Nobody stopped him. Herschel Walker's 1981 season defined what a power back could be, and his combination of size, speed, and toughness became the gold standard for decades. Ricky Williams, Texas, 1998. Ricky Williams rewrote the record books in 1998. Coming into that season, Williams was already a star, but what he did as a senior was simply mind-blowing. He ran for 2,124 yards and 27 touchdowns in the regular season, shattering Tony Dorset's all-time NCAA career rushing record, and doing it in dramatic fashion, with a 60-yard touchdown run against Texas A&M that cemented his Heisman moment. What set Ricky apart wasn't just the numbers, though those were eye-popping. It was the way he played. A mix of power, balance, and vision, running behind a good but not great Texas offensive line. He routinely turned what should have been 2-yard gains into 10, and 10-yard runs into 50. Williams carried Texas to a 9-3 record, but his individual brilliance was the real headline. He won the Heisman Trophy, the Walter Camp Award, the Doak Walker Award, and the Maxwell Award, essentially sweeping every major trophy a running back could win. Ricky's 1998 season wasn't just a statistical triumph. It was a statement that the power back still ruled, even in an era where spread offenses were starting to pop up. He left defenders in his wake and fans shaking their heads in disbelief. Marcus Allen, 1981. In 1981, Allen became the first running back in college football history to break the 2,000-yard barrier in a single season, finishing with 2,342 rushing yards and 22 touchdowns. And we're talking about an era where you played fewer games and faced brutal Pac-10 defenses week after week. Allen wasn't just about speed or power. He was the complete package: vision, patience, balance, and a gear that kicked in just when you thought he was boxed up. His ability to make defenders miss or wear them down made him an every-down workhorse. Allen led USC to a 9-3 record and won the Heisman Trophy, the Maxwell Award, and the Walter Camp Award. He also took home the Pac-10 Player of the Year and became a consensus All-American. What makes Allen's season so historic is that he set the mold for future big yard backs and proved that breaking 2,000 yards wasn't just a pro benchmark. It was possible in college too. For a generation of Trojan fans, Marcus Allen in 1981 became the gold standard. Reggie Bush, 2005. Bush's stats tell part of the story. 1,740 rushing yards, 478 receiving yards, and 18 touchdowns. But you can't measure his season in numbers alone. You have to factor in the jaw-dropping highlights, the spin moves, the cutbacks, the 50-yard bursts where defenders thought they had an angle, until they didn't. That year, Bush led USC to the BCS title game, won the Heisman, later vacated, and became the face of college football. His ability to break a game open at any moment forced every defense to account for him on every snap, whether he was lined up in the backfield, in the slot, or returning kicks. Bush averaged 8.7 yards per carry, a ridiculous stat at the major college level. And let's not forget his unforgettable performance against Fresno State, 513 all-purpose yards, the most in USC history, in one of the greatest single-game showcases ever. Even without the official Heisman on the books, Reggie Bush's 2005 season remains a landmark moment where college football felt like art on grass. Tony Dorset, 1976. Dorset rushed for 2,150 yards and scored 22 touchdowns in 1976, leading the Pitt Panthers to a perfect 12-0 record and their first national championship since 1937. If you want to talk about a player carrying a team, this is the season. Dorset was pure magic on the field, shifty, elusive, and blessed with breakaway speed. You'd blink and he'd be gone. His ability to hit the edge, find creases, and slip through the smallest gaps in the defense made him almost impossible to corral. But here's the kicker. He did it against brutal defenses. That Pitt team wasn't playing cupcakes. They ran through the likes of Notre Dame and Penn State, and Dorset still averaged over 179 rushing yards per game. He won the Heisman Trophy and set the NCAA career rushing record at the time, finishing with 6,082 career rushing yards. His 1976 season wasn't just statistically impressive, it's remembered as one of the most important campaigns in college football history because it turned Pitt from an afterthought into a national powerhouse. Tony Dorset's 76 season proved that one generational player can change everything. LaDainian Tomlinson, 2000. In the 2000 season, Tomlinson racked up 2,158 rushing yards and 22 touchdowns, leading the entire nation in rushing. And this wasn't some plug-and-play system stat line. He was the focal point of a TCU team trying to make a national name for itself. What's wild is how much of the offense ran through LT, game after game. Defenses knew he was coming, stacked the box, and still couldn't stop him. He averaged 196 rushing yards per game, an unreal number even for a mid-major. He capped off the year winning the Doak Walker Award and finishing fourth in the Heisman voting, a rare feat for a player outside the Power 5 spotlight. But what truly makes Tomlinson's 2000 season stand out is the legacy. His dominance that year helped lift TCU's reputation, setting the foundation for the program's eventual move into the Big 12 and becoming a national contender. In short, LT didn't just run over defenses, he helped run TCU on the national map. Mike Rosier, 1983. Mike Rosier's 1983 season at Nebraska included 2,148 rushing yards and 29 touchdowns, averaging over 7.8 yards per carry. That's not a typo. Nearly 8 yards every time he touched the ball. Nebraska's offense was a force of nature, but Rosier was the clear star, slicing through Big 8 defenses like they were practice squads. Rosier won the Heisman Trophy that year, and the Huskers steamrolled to a 12-1 season, only losing the national title in one of the most famous games ever. The 1984 Orange Bowl against Miami, where Nebraska's gutsy two-point conversion attempt came up short. What's remembered about Rosier's 1983 season isn't just the stats, it's the style. He was silky smooth with effortless acceleration and a natural feel for where defenders were going before they knew it themselves. Rosier's senior year stands as one of the best power run seasons ever, anchoring a Nebraska team often considered one of the greatest to never win it all. Christian McAffrey, 2015. McAffrey's versatility during the 2015 season made him extra special as he piled up 2,019 rushing yards, 645 receiving yards, plus a whopping 1,200-plus return yards on special teams, breaking Barry Sanders' all-purpose yardage record. And here's the crazy part. He did it while not even winning the Heisman, finishing runner-up to Derrick Henry, a debate that still sparks arguments today. What made McAffrey's season so special wasn't just the numbers, it was the impact. Every time he touched the ball, you held your breath. Whether it was a handoff, a screen pass, a punt return, or even throwing a touchdown pass in the Pac-12 championship game. McAffrey was the most electric player on the field. Stanford went 12-2 and won the Rose Bowl, with McAffrey torching Iowa for 368 all-purpose yards in a performance that left no doubt about his greatness. In an era when running backs were often boxed into one-dimensional roles, McAffrey's 2015 campaign proved you could be the ultimate Swiss Army knife and dominate at the highest level. Melvin Gordon, 2014. Gordon's knack for explosive runs led to 2,587 rushing yards and 29 touchdowns in just 14 games, including the Big Ten title game and bowl. But 2,336 yards came in the regular season alone. For context, that was just 292 yards shy of Barry Sanders' single-season record, and Gordon didn't even play full games most Saturdays because Wisconsin often had blowouts. Gordon averaged 7.5 yards per carry, and his signature moment came against Nebraska when he ran for 408 yards. At the time, an NCAA record for a single game, later broken. His blend of patience, vision, and explosive top speed made him nearly impossible to bottle up. He finished as the Heisman runner-up to Marcus Mariota, but many fans and experts still rank Gordon's 2014 as one of the greatest pure rushing seasons ever, especially considering how efficient and game-breaking his performances were. Melvin Gordon turned Wisconsin into an offensive powerhouse that year and left a legacy that still echoes in Big Ten history. Dayne, 1999. Dayne ran for 2,034 yards and 20 touchdowns, securing the Heisman Trophy and finishing his career as college football's all-time leading rusher, if you include bowl stats. Even without the bowls, his regular season numbers were enough to cement his place in history. What set Dayne apart wasn't flash or breakaway speed, it was sheer power and durability. At 5 feet 10 inches and 250 pounds, he was a battering ram who wore defenses down over 4 quarters. Everyone in the stadium knew Wisconsin was going to feed him the ball, and nobody could stop it. In 1999, Dayne averaged over 169 yards per game, leading the Badgers to a Big Ten championship and a Rose Bowl victory, where he earned MVP honors for the second straight year. His consistency was incredible. He posted 4 straight 1,500-plus yard seasons, a mark no other player has matched. Dayne's 99 season wasn't just about numbers. It was about watching a big man rumble through stacked boxes and drag tacklers 5 extra yards, week after week. He was the heart and soul of that Wisconsin team, and his place in the history books is well-deserved. Derrick Henry, 2015. Henry, the 6'3", 247-pound monster, ran for 2,219 yards and 28 touchdowns, carrying the Tide to an SEC championship, a college football player title, and a Heisman Trophy in 2015. His combination of size, strength, and surprising top-end speed made him an absolute nightmare for defenses. What's crazy about Henry's season is the workload. He had 395 carries, an SEC record. In November alone, when the games mattered most, he rushed 46 times against Auburn, 38 times against Florida, and 44 times against LSU. Henry was the definition of a workhorse, pounding defenses into submission. He set the SEC single-season rushing record and averaged over 147 rushing yards per game. When Alabama needed to salt games away, they turned to Henry, and he delivered over and over. Derrick Henry's 2015 season wasn't just big numbers on paper, it was the central pillar of a national championship run, showing that in the right hands, a traditional power running game could still dominate college football. Darren McFadden, 2007. McFadden was electric and versatile in rushing for 1,830 yards and 16 touchdowns, while adding 164 receiving yards, and even throwing 4 touchdown passes out of the Wildcat formation, which Arkansas basically invented to maximize his talents. What made McFadden special wasn't just the yardage, it was the way he took over games. Against South Carolina, he set an SEC record with 321 rushing yards. Against LSU, the nation's #1 team, he racked up 206 rushing yards in an epic triple overtime win that derailed the Tigers' national title hopes. McFadden was a 2-time Heisman runner-up, finishing second in 2007 behind Tim Tebow, but many fans and analysts still believe he was the most dynamic player in the country. His rare mix of power, speed, and vision made him a threat to score every time he touched the ball, from anywhere on the field. Darren McFadden's 2007 season helped change offensive thinking in college football, showing how you could unleash a do-it-all playmaker in creative ways and turn them into a weekly mismatch nightmare. Rashan Salam, 1994. Rashan Salam's season at Colorado saw him become just the 4th player in NCAA history to break the 2,000-yard rushing mark, finishing with 2,055 rushing yards and 24 touchdowns. And that was before adding in his receiving stats. He averaged over 165 rushing yards per game and scored a touchdown in every game but one. Salam was a smooth, gliding runner who made it look effortless. He combined elite vision with sneaky acceleration, slipping through gaps and outrunning defenders before they even realized what happened. He carried Colorado to an 11-1 record and a top 5 national ranking, capped off with a Fiesta Bowl win. He won the Heisman Trophy in a landslide, along with the Doak Walker and Walter Camp Awards, sweeping nearly every major honor that year. Rashan Salam's 1994 season is sometimes overlooked today, but at the time, he was the gold standard for running backs, a complete, consistent, dominant force who left an incredible mark on college football history. Drop a comment and let us know what you thought of this video. If you enjoyed watching this video, click to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.